9/11. This morning, I turned on the television receiver and checked out the major over-the-air networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, and Scripps News, to see what they were broadcasting as their top stories of the morning. The Harris-Trump debate happened last night, so this was one of the big news stories, but this is also the day in September when evil, subhuman scum hijacked 4 passenger flights. This is the weapon they used. For readers of this newsletter who were not around or who do not remember the day this occurred, these terrorists entered our country and signed up for flight lessons. They did not want to learn how to land the big jet aircraft. They only wanted to know how to fly them. They purchased tickets and boarded the flights like any normal passenger. Then, after the planes were in the air, these terrorists began slashing the throats of anyone who was in their way as they took control of the flights. 2 of the targets were the World Trade Center buildings in New York. Another target that was impacted was the Pentagon building, and the 4th target was the U.S. Capitol building. But the passengers on this flight overpowered the terrorists and crashed it into the ground. Every year on this day in September, a memorial service is held at the site where the buildings once stood in New York to remember the victims who lost their lives. Standing side by side at this memorial event were Biden, Harris, the mayor of New York, Trump, and Vance. Many people died as the planes tore through the sides of the buildings, and because these planes were fully loaded with fuel, the buildings were on fire. Those who survived the impacts had the choice of death by fire or to jump from the upper floors above the fire zones. The impacts stripped away the insulation from the steel structure of the buildings, and the heat from the burning fuel eventually weakened the steel so it could no longer support the load of the upper floors. As the buildings collapsed, the first responders who were working to evacuate people from the lower floors were lost, along with the people whose lives they were trying to save. This was a very tragic day that could have been prevented, but that is a story for another time, another day. The last news item that big media was running this morning, and this is very troubling, is the Taylor Swift and her politics story. I have had enough of the media hype surrounding this so-called singer-dancer and her numerous failed relationships. Get over it and stop corrupting the minds of impressionable females who should learn to think for themselves. The only thing any girl can learn from a Taylor Swift concert is how to dance like a stripper.